we're going to talk about our most embarrassing time investments in games.
Oh man.
So, anytime you're on a computer and you hit slash played and you're like, oh no, oh no.
How many hours?
Like,
How many
hours,
months
lots
of
of
my
hours.
life?
Yeah, I
Years.
know.
It's our voices with your imagination. Our theories take us down endless rabbit holes. We give our fellow nerds something to consider at the gaming table. Follow us as the Nerd Pow Wow.
You know what's funny is I listed out a few of them, but I even forgot, like I just was mentioning before we went fully live here, that I didn't even think about Overwatch. I'm sure I have an amazing amount of hours in Overwatch, but so just to kind of give a little bit of a rundown. So I used to be an MMORPG guy, so time sinks galore. So that really kind of did the list, but it was a game called Rift. Rift was an MMORPG that I really enjoyed. Looked that one up. I've got about 2,500 hours in that one, so that's a fairly decent investment. I have about 2,000 in Arc, so 2,000 in Arc. Um, Warcraft. I went in my Blizzard account. I have 4,300 hours in Warcraft, so that was a pretty big one. But the one that really took the cake was I logged into my old Blizzard account, brought up the original EverQuest, and I've got over 7,200 hours in EverQuest.
Oh my god.
That's
Holy
that's
cow.
7,200 hours even is 300 days.
Almost a year. You almost
Almost a
a year
year.
of your life.
when, when they called it EverCorrect, they weren't wrong because
weren't.
for so many reasons. Like EverQuest was hard mode. I mean, all the time. There wasn't an easy mode. And for instance, death was punishing in that game, just punishing. If you died, all of your stuff was on your corpse, which happens in games. However, there's no instancing in EverQuest at all. Not the original EverQuest. So if you died, there was 7,200 over 7,200. But if you died, there was no respawn, or whatever killed you would respawn in the time it took you to get back. And so you died in your best gear trying to kill the boss at an end of a dungeon, and now that entire dungeon has respawned, and you have to get back to your
Oh,
body to get your gear back. And there's a time limit. Like it does it you only have so much time to do that, or else you lose your whatever epic loots you got. The only ways around it were if you could find a necromancer, a necromancer could summon a body if they had the right setup, and then a rogue could try to stealth down and drag your body up. But that was iffy because a lot of things see through stealth, and the rogue would end up dying halfway back up with your body, and you still have the same problem. But these led to 11 and 12-hour corpse runs. I've had a 12-hour corpse run. I mean, that's insane.
What a stressful thing to deal with. You can't get to your freaking body. You need to.
Right. We had stacks of gear left in like our last set of gear. We wouldn't sell it. We'd keep it for our backup just so we could go on a course. But yeah, it was. Yeah, it was pretty close. There were a lot of. She said she would have F4 and broke her mouse, but
oh, easily.
there was a lot of rage type in there. But
Yep.
the game, what I liked about it though was it made you really not want to die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So tactics, crowd control, all of the different mechanisms you had to use in the game were so much more critical. I feel like a lot of these games now are easy mode. You die, it's okay. You lose a little experience. You go get your body from the graveyard. No harm, no foul. And I don't know. Like when you died in EverQuest, you're like, holy fuck, I can't believe I died. It's just anyway. Like for instance, there's one place and there was the entire zone was hidden behind a mirror. Right behind the initial mirror when you enter it, there was creatures that had a death touch. They literally, whoever came through the mirror, immediately killed. And so you would die just right in the entrance, but the people coming in would then die trying to get you, and you'd go back in and die. And it was just a rapid succession of death. You had piles of bodies. So we figured out things like one of my characters was a cleric, and a cleric could have like a holy immunity. And so I would jump through, click on the holy immunity as soon as I got through, take all the death touches immediately, and distract all the. So before those death touches refreshed, everybody comes in, hurries up, and kills everything, so that we can then res the people that died. But I mean, you wouldn't. That kind of stuff is great. You know, there was a lower guck. I would jump off the top of lower guck and hit the immunity right before I hit the ground to get to the body that was at the bottom of the pile and hope to survive. I mean, those kind of tactics were just fun. It was great. So, you guys have any punishing games like that in your repertoire?
Well, you know, in the same kind of vein of RPGs back in the day, I used to play. Ice Knight brought up the game RuneScape. I used to play RuneScape Classic when it was just RuneScape. Back on my, I'd go to the library and play on the library computer browser based game, and I remember the one time.
I remember that.
Yep, I was playing at the library, right, and I played at the library because when I connected to the internet at home, I connected through a modem, and it was a long distance call. So I would go to the library and I would play RuneScape on there. And then, you know, when I'd get home, sometimes I would check my game, but, you know, it was like a 10-minute thing and then I'd get off, right? Or like I needed to reset something, whatever. Well, the one time I get on my game and I'm dropping stuff on the ground. I didn't log out at the library. And one of my nemesises when I was a younger kid, Wendell, you son of a bitch, I'm going to dox you. He got on my account right after I got off the library. He got on there, saw that I was still logged in, and he just started dropping stuff on the ground for my account. Yeah. I got on my freaking bike and I got to that library so flippin' fast. Yeah. I've pulled. I stand behind him. I'm like, what are you doing? And he just turns like.
That's funny. He was still there.
He was still there. He was still there dropping shit. He was like going. I forget some of the mechanics and details, but he was still like doing stuff to screw with my account. Luckily, I was able to get most everything back. But man, I was about to deal out an ass whooping to some little freaking some kid.
You had the perfect opportunity. You should have been like, "Hey, Wendell, meet Webster," and just clock him in the back of the head with the biggest dictionary you could find in the library. What could have had an epic line for it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I was furious. Yeah, that's right, Kimchi. That was a POV. I was just behind him like, "You're gonna die, kid."
But question about EverQuest. How were the other online? Like, could you make teams?
We had guilds. Okay. And oddly enough, to make it even more difficult, so there were 3 faction types in EverQuest. You had evil, neutral, and good. Neutral could group with evil, and neutral could group with good, but they could not. Good could not group with neutral. Okay. Whenever you had a grouping, so they purposely put the neutral in there so that you had some power sets that would only be available in your opposing faction. So, because otherwise you wouldn't have, like, for instance, barbarians had certain ability and skill sets that you would possibly need in a all evil guild, but you couldn't team with good, so they had the neutral to kind of fill the gaps. But my guild was Prime Nightmare was the name of the guild, and we decided we were going to have an all evil guild, no neutrals, no nothing, only characters. It made ratings astronomically more difficult. Like, we needed to make that fucking game more difficult, but we did. but pulling off some of the things that we pulled off in the game, people like kind of said that we couldn't do it, and we were able to do like slay a couple dragons and things like that nobody thought we could do with an all evil arrangement. But we just had to think outside of the box. It was great. Mm-hmm. It was before back then there wasn't like the meta. There just didn't happen back then. It was everybody's thinking on their own. They weren't trying to find the mechanism that worked, like looking it up on Reddit to see what the best build,
what the optimal config is.
Yeah, what the optimal grouping thing is. I'm just more of a free thinker than that. Yeah. So
good stuff. Wayne, what about you? Any punishing games in your games library there?
So we're just gonna go from the start with me. my dad always said video games would rot your brain. So I was not allowed to possess a video game system at all. The only, I guess, exception was the color computer.
I remember that
Tandy.
color computer.
Oh,
Yeah,
I loved
okay.
my color computer. It had Super Pitfall, had Pegasus. But the game, but the game I want to talk about is X-Men for the Sega Genesis. That was the first game I ever purchased, the first system I ever purchased, and I probably, Sega Genesis didn't count your hours, but I wouldn't doubt I spent 7,200 hours on that game. I really wouldn't. Oh, man, I to this day I love the game, and the fact that you have to hit the reset button. So Sega has like a Sega Mini where you can play different games. You can actually put cartridges in it, but whenever you hit the reset button, it just goes to the main menu. You need an original Sega Genesis to play the X-Men game.
Nice.
So it's hard. It's really hard. You can get the first 3 levels pretty easily, and then once you hit Mojo's level, one hit knocks like a quarter of your power, so you only can get 4 hits and try to make it through. So if you guys play the game, I know Seraph you have.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely,
Yep.
Yeah.
I think I always liked the second X-Men game for the Sega. That's one I think I had the most hours clocked into out
Clone
of the
Wars.
2. Yeah, Clone Wars. But man, both those games were so phenomenal, so fun. Along the same vein, Maximum Carnage for the Super
good
Nintendo.
game.
That's
Yes.
that's the one I really latched onto in comparison. I mean, because we had the Super Nintendo, you had the Sega, right? So
Yeah. Oh yeah.
it worked out. So, but yeah, I remember being over at your house playing the Sega. Hear your dad get home. Oh, we got to put it away.
Yeah. Well, that
So
was
funny.
actually. So he worked during the week and he was home on the weekends. So on the weekends, I let my friend who purchased it for me with my money, of course. He kept it for the weekend, and then he'd have to return it on Monday. We did this for months, and then I always get caught. I'm a horrible liar, so I mean, I got caught.
A horrible liar.
Oh, but yeah, I remember, and basically, I play the same way up into a certain point. There's always Gambit for the first level, with the Savage Land, and then the next one is the Shi'ar Empire. I always play with Cyclops. You make it to where you fight Juggernaut and Apocalypse. You start off with Wolverine there, but then you move on to Nightcrawler because he's easier to beat Apocalypse with. And then you get the this one world, I can't remember who's there. There's Sentinels there. There's Ahab at the end. Nightcrawler, you need Nightcrawler to beat that, in my opinion. And then you move on to Mojo's level, and if you are fortunate to make it past that, you go face Magneto. So it's a blast. And I just recently found, and I think ChatGPT might be lying to me. I was looking up cheat codes using ChatGPT, and they swear that you can play as Juggernaut, you can play as Magneto in that game.
Oh, that sounds like AI hallucinating.
Well, I found no YouTube videos whatsoever showing this. I'm like, well,
I've run into this before.
Nobody's shown this.
Yeah, I've run into this before. It's because emulators of the game oftentimes will allow you to have abilities that they didn't in the original game. So the AI is picking up the fact that you can do it in a version of the game that was not the typical version.
I'll accept that. Okay.
Before.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of the games you can save now that you couldn't save back then.
Right. Oh, Wayne, it sounds like we're gonna have to get you a hacked ROM so that you can play as Juggernaut and get past Mojo even on like your computer.
If I get that emulator set it comes as a package. You can get the package that I'm getting. If I get that set, it'll have that on there.
Really?
Because it has anything that was the Sega Genesis, N64, and back. I mean, it's Super Nintendo, all of that. It's every game, like without exception. I think there's like every game on there.
Yeah.
So
Amazon, they had this little stick thing that goes into your TV, a little HDMI thing, has like 70,000 different games loaded onto it. There's a lot of repeats on it, but it's pretty cool. It's a little bit slow. I'd rather have like a proper computer to do emulation with, but man, I'll tell you what, it's convenient for a vacation or something like that where, okay, end of the night, I just want to chill and play some Super Ghouls and Ghosts.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, that's not how I define chilling, but
no, I don't think most people would. Only
although you can
sadists
save
like
with
me,
the
my
emulator
gosh.
version.
Yeah, that's true.
Is that next on your list? Super Ghouls and Ghosts?
Yeah, that's the segue into Super Ghouls and Ghosts.
There you go.
That's my punishing game. I'll tell you what. Want to talk about a punishing game? It took me until I was like 28 to beat that freaking game for the first time. I have to have 4,000 or 5,000 hours in that freaking game. There's times I would get really obsessive over it, play it a whole lot. I'd take a break for a while, but it's one of those games that I'd always, touch base on, play it for like a month or two, and then just kind of drop it by the wayside. And the thing that caused me to beat it is, so you're playing as Arthur and you're trying to save your maiden in distress. And, when she's whisked away, she drops this item, along the levels. So what you have to do is you have to beat the game to get to her. And she's like, oh, you won't be able to defeat the big strong guy. Not without this item I dropped before. And then you have to beat the game again and pick up this item to beat the final boss. And it is the cheapest way to get more gameplay time out of you. But by God, it worked on me. The goddess bracelet. But yeah, so Super Ghouls and Ghosts, I put so much time, so I was playing it kind of incorrectly when I was younger. I always loved the holy water, and I loved the crossbow as my two sub items, because you get an item that you attack with, and depending on what armor you have, you gain armor. You're able to charge it up if you get to the final armor. But it's kind of like Mario, where if you get hit, you lose your armor, and you're just Sir Arthur running around in your boxer shorts.
Yeah.
Which is fun, but you die easy. There are chests that are hidden that I learned where all the chests are hidden at and how you need to jump specifically to uncover them, and all that. It's very intricate in that way. The thing that makes Super Ghouls and Ghosts difficult is timing, because you need to remember patterns of bosses, but also you have different, enemies that pop up on the screen in random spots too, that have very difficult flight patterns to deal with and to bother with. And not every item is perfect for whatever situation. Well, over time, I decided, you know what? I'm going to watch one of these fucking speedrunners who has played this game enough to speedrun it. I'm going to watch them play and see how they beat this game once YouTube got super popular, right? And they're using the dagger. And I'm like, man, the dagger sucks. But no, the dagger's really freaking good, because you can just spam that attack button. I never gave it a proper shake. I would always use the other sub items and be like, screw this one. Now, the hatchet always sucked. That one was awful. The scythe was okay, but yeah, the hatchet, it goes up first and then it goes forward, which it's so useless. If you're in like a corridor with a tight top, like you throw it and it just disappears above your head. You can't even attack in front of you. Hatchet was awful. But yeah, that dagger, you throw that dagger as fast as you can spam that attack button. So it's, it's a weaker sub item. It's a weaker item because, it does less damage, but overall, you're doing more damage per second with that, and you're getting mobs off the screen that are just popping up at the side.
Yeah. It's a great game, though. It was a fun game to play. Like, grueling and as painful as it was genuinely a fun game to play.
Yep. And you know,
That's the
it's
question.
fair because it lets you set the number of continues you have and the number of lives you have up to 9 for each. And it's like, oh, this is so helpful. I'll set these both up to 9, so I have plenty of chances. You will burn through those so fucking quick, and you
Yep.
don't get extra lives super often. So you're gonna by, you know, you may get to the third stage after you've played a few times, and that's as far as you're gonna make it. You know, it's and then
It
you're
is.
gonna have to figure out what the next thing is. You know, have to know the perfect jump patterns. It's a brutal game in that regard. But I'll tell you what, platforming and jumping, I learned it from Super Ghouls and Ghosts.
That's a question to
Did you play
speedrunner.
Ghosts and Goblins at all?
I didn't play Ghost and Goblins the
The
original.
original?
No, I started
'Cause-
with Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Yep.
Yeah, so that original did the same thing. When you got to the
Mhm.
end, it sent you back to the beginning in order to get the actual ending.
So
Just
mad.
yeah,
Oh,
and there's
you had to go
no
through twice, right? Yeah.
Yep.
yeah, both games you had to go through twice. So when that was on the original Nintendo, and I remember me and my buddy Danny, we had the Nintendo, we were using the Nintendo at his house, and we left that game on for days. We just walk away, pause it, and just walk away and come back. The Nintendo was like boiling hot. I'm surprised it didn't have a meltdown at some point in time. I remember the wall wart that we plugged into the wall was like I couldn't believe how hot that thing got, and it didn't cause a fire. But one day we were pretty far through it, and he had 2 dogs, and we would take the Nintendo out into the room so that we could sit there and play Nintendo. And one of the dogs got crazy puppy mode, goes running between the Nintendo and the TV and pulls the power cord. I I really thought the look on his face. I'm like, don't go to the dog. Don't do anything to that dog. Like, he was like,
Be good to the
I thought
dog.
he was gonna. Oh, that dog's life flashed before his eyes.
So there's a question I have for you: is that speedrunner? How long did it take him to actually get it through the game?
Oh man, I think you can speed run through Super Ghouls and Ghosts in like an hour and a half. I think it
Still,
can
that's
be,
a long time.
yeah. I mean, it's it might be a little bit shorter than that, but it's like in comparison, like it's insane how fast these people. Have you watched speedrunners for the X-Men game, Wayne?
I have. I can't remember at the time, but it's something like 5 something minutes.
Yeah, there are some games you can
It's
glitch through, and it's just you're straight.
But you know, you use Nightcrawler, you stay at the top of the screen, you just run right through the game. I'm like, man, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah,
And that
I've
go
never
back to
watched
the X-Men game. I remember. So when I got the game, I had no idea about the game. Just it's X-Men. I love X-Men. That reset button, I did not know about probably for a couple years later.
Yep.
So I would get to that point, I get so frustrated, like, what the hell?
How'd you end up figuring it out, Wayne?
To be honest, I don't remember. I had to have been told about it, or it was in like those magazines that we used to get as kids.
I'll tell you
Game
what, those
Informer?
magazines were important.
Game Informer.
Yep.
Game Informer, like the Super Mario 3, when you press down on the white block
Yep.
to get the warp whistle. That's the only way we'd know that.
Yep. Yep. Nintendo power all the way. Well,
Mhm.
we were always a Nintendo household, you know, for the most part.
Yeah.
But yep. Super
I wish
Ghouls
I
and
could
Ghosts
still-
speedrun right now. The record is 36 minutes. So it's
Okay.
even for a speedrun, that's a long, pretty long, and to get through that, that's crazy. But yeah,
That is. I think someone did a speed run of Super Mario 3 and it took 3 minutes and 37 seconds.
Wow.
But there's a little glitch in one of the levels where I think it's in the 7th world. You can go up to a certain point and then you just fall and then all of a sudden you win the game.
Yep.
It's like
So you
kind of
don't
like
have
that
to
little
actually do
secret thing in
great.
the original Super Mario Brothers. You could go up on top of that one level and go down to the 3 tubes
Yep.
and get down and warp to the other levels.
yep. There are so a lot of games that are speedrun, people speedrun. They have different categories too. Like I know Symphony of the Night, the other game on my list here, people speedrun that game a lot. And there are glitchless runs. There's different character runs, and just like a regular speed run, right? That's you can use glitches, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think with
Fastest you can do
glitches,
it.
yeah, I think with glitches and playing as Richter, you can get through the game in 10 minutes.
Wow.
Same without, like, you can just fly through the game. You clip through walls, and some of those games back in the day were a little bit buggy. So, it just is what it is.
Right.
But yeah,
There's the amount of time added up that we've spent in these video games is it's just a little scary.
that's just the
That's what makes
retro games.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the X-Men game that I didn't know about the reset button. How many hours did I spend just getting to
Yeah.
that screen that I couldn't get any further?
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's
All right, Moiraibane, I'm dying to hear more about Warcraft.
Yeah.
oh yeah, I spent
World
a
of
lot of time
Warcraft.
Warcraft. I was in some higher end raiding guilds, and those, take a lot of time and energy. I mean, I really enjoyed the game. Now you couldn't pay me to play it. Just
Right.
well, just because I'm kind of at a time in my life where I'm just kind of done with time sinks.
Yeah.
I don't want to go get 4 carrots from the farmer and bring them back to this guy, and then I don't want to do that shit anymore. Like I enjoy some story. Like I don't mind when I'm gathering materials for a purpose. Like I play a lot of Enshrouded. I really enjoy Enshrouded. I don't mind going and getting resources to build a tower, but the questing to level thing is just I want it to be more rewarding along the way. There's like Enshrouded, you have to go get these materials, and there's things guarding the materials, and then there's reward for just exploration. You walk into a cave, and no matter where you walk into, there's something cool in there. It doesn't just look cool. There's actually something that you can use. Even it's something that doesn't even necessarily take part of the entire game. It's something that stands out or needed for the story mode. I mean, it's something like a cool weapon that you just find. I just really enjoyed that kind of rewarding. So you couldn't pay me enough to go back to the original like MMORPG games. Even those games like Enshrouded and Ark and things like that I really enjoy. Even those I bring up my own servers.
Yeah.
So that like when I'm taming a dino in Ark, sometimes it takes like 4 or 5 in real life days to tame certain like dinosaurs. So you have to have like hand off watching this thing and keeping it awake, keeping its torpor up. You have to hand that off to somebody else. Fuck that. My time is way too valuable to watch a virtual dinosaur sleep for 4 days so that I can ride him around. So I just crank those
He's
meters.
tired.
Yeah,
It's
no,
like
I
you're
just
playing
crank those meters
Tamagotchi
up.
Simulator. My God.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those are also places you're supposed to have like a 40-man tribe.
Yeah.
And I don't, I'm an adult. I don't have 40 friends to get online at the same time. So, so I make these servers for,
tame dinosaurs?
yeah. So I get 4 or 5 people and we bring up a server and I make it, appropriate for that quantity of people.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so the time that I spent in things like Warcraft and EverQuest, it was just not going to happen again. It's just not anything I'm interested in. As much as I kind of like them. The Agnosaur. Dinosaur.
Dinosaur.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. And EverQuest, ironically, named EverQuest, and there weren't quests in the game. Originally, there were no quests. You didn't go to.
It was the EverQuest.
Yeah, you didn't. You could not go up to an NPC and get a task. That's not how the game worked. You just learned where a certain weapon or a piece of armor is, or you knew that this epic creature existed, and you would go kill that creature, hoping that you got some kind of drop that was applicable to your character.
Yeah.
There wasn't any that didn't exist. It wasn't part of the equation, and they did neat shit. Like there was a dragon on servers called the Sleeper, and if your server woke up the Sleeper, it would alter the entire game permanently for that server. It was the Sleeper was so powerful that when you woke him up, he would go on a rampage across the world. It was the only NPC in the game that could zone. So if you were in one thing, you could zone to escape things. Like if someone's chasing, you could zone out into a different realm, different land. You'd have to go into the desert from wherever. But from the swamp or whatever you were running from. But he could zone, and he would not leave a zone until he killed every single thing in the zone. NPCs, player characters, all kinds of stuff. He would slaughter the entire zone and then zone to the next zone and go on. He was in the game until the one of the devs would log in and take him out. He would just rampage continually until he got pulled out of the game because people were just logging in and getting wiped out.
Wow.
One funny thing is I used that invulnerability against him. I wanted to try it out to see what would happen when he was rampaging. He kills everything in this. He passes me up, and he kills everything in the zone. So I'm still alive, but he's on the other end of the zone. I'm like, holy crap! I survived the sleeper. And all of a sudden, there's a yell. Like when you yell in the game, it's server wide. You can see it. Or not server wide, zone wide. You can see a zone wide message pull up, and the sleeper goes. My character's name was Fajan, and he's like, to me, Fajan, and he summons me.
Fajan.
It just death touches me immediately, and then goes to the next zone. But I was like, oh, I thought I was gonna be the only person in all history to survive the sleeper, but not so much.
Kind of
Not so
reminds
much.
me of a Tarask from D&D in a way, just like this big, ominous, scary sleeping monster that
Yeah,
just fucks everything up when it gets awakened. That's cool.
yeah, just don't wake it up. But yeah, and then it changed the whole face of the server, and it was really cool. It altered all kinds of zones, and it did everything. It like broke the world. It was neat. It's good. It was just a good game. I loved the for as painful as it was at times. There were things you could do because you had to figure out the mechanism, and I just loved that. I loved having to problem solve in a game because anymore, I feel like it's kind of spoon feeds you what to do in the game
Can be.
and how to, yeah. So that's why I really appreciate games that don't do that. I like hard games. I don't want a game that's like punishing, like you have to jump between these pedestals. You know what I mean? I don't want to have to, it's sticky fingers, but I want to have to figure out the strategy. I want to strategize
Right.
with them to find the solution.
Well, there's a strategy of jumping between pillars.
Yeah,
Aha.
be better at your controller or your keyboard and mouse.
Oh, that reminds me of Super Mario #1. And one of the later levels, there was the one block, but you had to run across them and then jump over. And man, I died so many times right there.
Dissolve behind you. Did you ever play the original Mega Man?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The Machine Man's world where those things would bend down, so you had to time them. Oh my god, that one was just miserable. I would wait until I had the I don't know if it was a freeze weapon or a time stop weapon or from one of the others. I'd wait till I got that so that I could stop those things from flipping down, so I could just get past that part without wanting to mid-air carry.
Yeah.
That's the best
Earlier
part about Mega Man, though. Is like you could go to a level like in preparation to get to another harder level,
Mhm.
or like, hey,
Yeah.
my skill set at this game, I'm so good at beating Cutman or whatever boss. So it's like, okay, well, I have a solid starting point. I'm gonna go to this level, and then we'll go from there.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah.
Mega Man was one of my favorite.
Yeah, it was a great game. I love the idea of finding the right weapon for the right boss, and again, figuring things out, troubleshooting in the game. So
Mega Man.
What about
I know,
Darkwing Duck, Wayne?
yeah,
Darkwing
game.
Duck Wayne.
Duckwayne.
So we are gonna look down.
No, I'm not. You can't make me.
Down. So this was one of my favorite Nintendo games, and I remember Seraph. We were pretty young when we first played this, and to this day, there's a Disney collection on the Switch, and I cheat a little bit with this game because you can rewind. So if you jump wrong, you can rewind and play more. So it's actually pretty easy to beat now. But man, I used to put countless number of hours in this game. It wasn't that difficult a game. But it was just fun. You got Megabolt, Bushroot, Quackerjack, Liquidator. The Moriarty stage was always fun. Steelbeak, defeating Steelbeak, even when you can rewind, is still pretty challenging. I mean, it's still doable and everything like that. But yeah, this game, basically, you got to pick your level. I think you started with Megavolt and Bushroot, and Quackerjack, and then you moved on to the second stage where that's where you found Liquidator and Moriarty, and then Steelbeak. So I'm not sure. You remember Seraph? We were pretty young when we started playing this game, but it's. I always wanted. I guess there is this Darkwing Duck game for another system. I'll have to think of it later, but it's a system that's not available in the United States.
What system is that?
And it's a little better graphics.
Oh.
So
What's the system?
Of course.
You had to know that was going to happen.
It is with. Dum, bum, bum.
These are things you should let me know because I'm really good at finding emulators for games that may not be available.
I would love to. I would love to play this game.
There's a Darkwing Duck on the Game Boy.
I never played that one.
There
So
you
what
go.
was the name of the Darkwing Duck one on that console that wasn't available here?
TurboGrafx 16.
Oh,
That was available in the United States.
Was it? I
had
have
it.
never seen one. And when I was looking it up, I was even looking on eBay. I was looking at game stores, and I could not find one here.
I had a TurboGrafx 16. You could absolutely get that in the United States.
I need to find one.
Yeah,
I was watching a gameplay of that game, and it looked a lot of fun.
They're 30. It's 35 years old. That's the problem, or 34 years old. That's the problem.
yeah.
And that thing came out in '89.
Yeah, and it looks like the Darkwing Duck game was in 1992. It came out for the TurboGrafx 16.
Oh, that's bright. Sorry, guys. I turned on the sun. You can get a TurboGrafx 16 on eBay for $300.
Oh,
You can buy the console for
that much for
$300.
Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, or you could just emulate it.
Yeah, that's what I would be.
Yep.
That's what I would do. Let me turn off the sun here. This screen's too bright.
Right.
I'm a little emulators are hard for me because, I don't understand them totally.
Fair enough.
Yep. Yeah. Game Rip, Kinsider. Yeah, Game Rip has a OST for it.
Nice.
Yeah.
There was one day I was bored one night and I'm looking at whatever other like Darkwing Duck video games there are, and say TurboGrafx 16. I'm like, well, let me look this up, and then
Yeah, the TurboGrafx 16 was a nice console, but it kind of went to the way of the beta tape.
Yeah.
It was a good console, but it's got overrun by
Nintendo.
people with bigger, deeper pockets.
Yep. I mean, Nintendo had the seal of quality, right? And from a time prior where games were just, there was a lot of shitty games put out for the Atari and all that, where, once a company started backing their games and putting a seal on it, then they kind of helped the gaming market in general, which, made Nintendo do pretty good. Sega did pretty good, but obscure stuff like the TurboGrafx, ColecoVision, I think, and like some of those other odd systems never really took off. Yeah.
Looks like they brought out in 2020 they brought out a TurboGrafx 16 mini that had 50 games in it, but it doesn't look like Darkwing made the cut. It's probably a licensing thing.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, I would think that.
I've noticed X-Men doesn't really make the cut with, say, Sega minis and all that.
Yeah. Well, I'll try to see if I can get that in an emulator pack that I'm working on.
Hey, let me know.
Yeah, I'll turn that one room so that it can be not just a living room, but also an emulator room for gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I turned what was my living room into the pool hall, I want that room to be turn that room into the gaming room. I think I'm going to turn that, because now that I have the shop, we have a shop now. We bought a 10,000 square foot building for the shop, but it has a lot more space than we actually need. So I'm going to steal part of that and bring a lot of my PC stuff there and take my workshop downstairs all to the shop, and I'm going to turn that into like a little poker room.
Oh, nice.
So we'll have I'll have the full entertainment gamut. It'll take this way. The pool hall. Lots of people come over to play pool, but people don't want us to come over and hang out in the living room up there. I want there to be a draw to the other rooms so that I don't have 40 people in the living room all waiting to play pool. It'd be like, I could send the squad up to play games or go play some poker or whatever. They actually have this really cool poker table that it's a poker table, and it has a top, and you can put the top on it to make it a regular table, but you can also take the top completely off, and there's a bumper pool set in there. It's kind of a hexagon table. And when I do the pool tournaments here, I was thinking about making the bumper pool the loser bracket. So you have to win your way back up to the main table on the bumper pool. But that'd be kind of fun. Bumper pool's fun. It's a different kind of game. So yeah, too many hours in these games, my friends.
yeah.
Too many hours.
Yep.
What do you got, Mr. Seraph?
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah, the second game I have here is Castlevania Symphony of the Night, another retro title released in 1997 for the original PlayStation, in a time when they only wanted 3D games for these 32-bit, 64-bit consoles. They got it, by golly, passed to make another side scroller, and boy, was it a good one. Castlevania Symphony of the Night is one of the for the namesake of Metroidvanias. It's one of the two games, including Metroid, where you have a genre of game where you have some leveling up systems, some equipment, and you're kind of free roaming through a map where you have like vague directions you need to go to progress, but you're basically it's a platform where you explore instead of just having a linear path.
Mhm.
And so Symphony of the Night, in one single save game file, I decided I had this goal. I said, I want to 100% this game. I want 100% of the items. I want to get my character to level 99 with 9,999 experience. I want to have all my familiars leveled up to max. I want to have my bestiary completely filled out. I want to have everything completely done.
Oh boy.
I think that
And did you do it?
That save file, I think I put probably around 1,200 hours before I started going through the bestiary to double check things. Well, there's a boss called the Laser Demon. The Laser
Demon.
He summons in creatures when you fight this boss. I killed the Laser Demon very fast in that playthrough. And so after all this time, I find out that the Mudman does not spawn...
The Muffin Man? Oh, the Mudman.
The Mudman does not spawn anywhere else in the game naturally than by the Laser Demon spawning him in. I did not do damage to a Mudman in my playthrough, so even though I maxed my character out, I had all my familiars leveled up, I got almost all of the items. I was getting really close on that. I found out that I was not going to be able to do that with this save file because I did not have the Mudman in my bestiary. That was a very bad day for me.
That's painful, dude.
That was painful. Yep. And I was like, how could I be missing a guy in here? This is crazy. Like, I didn't even think about the bestiary. I was like, that's something you're just going to pick up along playing the game, right? If you're getting all the items, you need to kill everything to get the item drops. Yeah. So I figured, I won't even worry about that. And I'm like, okay, let me double check this beast. Are you fucking kidding me?
That's painful.
Yep. But, one cool thing about Symphony of the Night is you have a lot of different item sets and you can kind of customize your character a little bit. The RPG elements, when you can level up, it just gives you stats. You don't get to pick the stats you level up, which it doesn't make the leveling... you get more powerful for leveling up, but that's one aspect in the game I wish they did a little bit more with to make it feel like I could build like a spellcaster build, right? Or I could lean on that. For spells in Castlevania Symphony of the Night, it's like fighting game inputs, up to down, forward, attack, right? You do the Hellfire or whatever. And then there's, sub items, there's, axe, all sorts of different weapons you can fight with. And then you have little familiars, just little characters that follow you around the screen when you go through levels. There's a fairy that heals you. There's a ghost that'll latch on to guys and just do damage over time to them.
Little dot, yeah.
Yep. So all sorts of fun stuff with Symphony of the Night. The sword familiar, which he's pretty cool because you can level him up. He's like a little sword that floats around. And if you stand still, he comes in and he's like, "Do you have the strength to wield me?" He's like a little shitty towards you when you have him at the lower levels. Like he talks shit when he comes in. He's one of the 3 familiars that talk. But as you level him up, he like, he's like, it's my honor and stuff like that, once you spend more time with him and level him up. So that was
Once
a
you
cool
become
touch.
respectable.
Yeah, exactly. He unlocks a special spell that you can use, but also he ends up being a weapon that you can wield once you get him past level 50.
Nice.
When you're wielding him, you can use another familiar. He doesn't gain levels, but he gets more powerful if you keep him as a familiar gaining levels. The higher his level gets, the more attack damage he does when you
Nice.
use him as an actual sword. So,
Can you still toggle them between weapon and familiar once you use them as a weapon?
yeah, you can choose to switch to a different weapon and use him as a familiar later if you want to. There's so many things in that game like that, just so many little details.
Yeah, because the Metroidvania world, you guys went Castlevania and I went Metroid. Like I played the hell out of Metroid, Super Metroid, and same. But so all of the things that you're finding like that, I just thinking of the things that correlated in Metroid, and I just reminiscing about. I love the Metroid games.
Yep. There's this sweet sword. It's called the Sword of Dawn, where you just pick it in a random wall, you find it, and if you do down to forward attack, you just summon a little army of little dudes. Like you have a wizard, you have an archer, a little fighter guy, and they just go on the screen and do stuff for you. They aren't super powerful or anything, but it's just there's so many flavorful weapons in that game and like cool little bizarre things. The librarian, the guy who sells you stuff in Dracula's castle, you run into him and you can buy an item called the duplicator. It costs so much money. It's an insane amount of money. Which you can either cheat and glitch the game to get that money, or you can get it the natural way, which is going to take you for hours and hours and hours trying to farm money for it. But it gives you the ability to use any of your single-use items any number of times, which is really cool when you get some of these items that do like entire screen effects. But yeah, Symphony of the Night, man, it's a really good game. It's got a lot of hidden stuff in it, a lot of Easter eggs. And first thing that happens is you play the previous Castlevania game. You play like a prologue where you're playing as Richter Belmont. You run into the scene, and it's right before you fight Dracula. And you fight Dracula as the first thing in Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
And now it's set up so that if you die, Maria comes in and she like, hey, regain your strength, and Richter gets back to full health. You're an invincible. It's basically just to tell the story of Rondo of Blood, the game prior. And then you move into Symphony of the Night where you run in. Alucard comes in. First thing that happens to him in Dracula's castle is Death says, hey, you know what? I'm going to take all of your items. So you have all these sweet items. You get to see Alucard as a real badass, right? And what that does is that shows you 2 things. It shows you that death exists in this game and that your items are going to be somewhere else in the castle. Here's the thing.
Like your princess.
Yep. When you play Symphony of the Night for the first time and you beat it, your final boss is Richter Belmont. His thing is he's trying to keep the fight between the Belmonts and Dracula going for eternity, so he'll be immortal. And so, he's trying to keep that fight going and summon Dracula, and that's what you find out as Alucard. So you kill him and that's the end of the game, right? But you didn't run into death. You didn't find any of your items, so you do more exploring, right? Eventually, you find 2 rings that say "Wear In," and the other says "Clock Tower." You wear those in the clock tower, and you get these holy goggles that show that there is a priest that's controlling Richter, and basically you can attack a hidden enemy. So once you do that, you get to the inverted castle, which is the entire Dracula's castle just upside down. So it does that Ghosts and Goblins thing where it makes you play the game again, but it's all upside down. Everything's turned on its head. And then you can get all those items and get all that stuff, and eventually you fight the priest Shaft, and then actually you fight Dracula's Alucard at the very end. Who would have known it?
How many choir boys have had to go through that? Fighting
Oh.
the priest shaft. Sorry. I couldn't help it.
It's the
I just
dark
couldn't believe you
priest
said
shaft.
fighting the priest
My
shaft.
gosh.
I'm like, oh no.
Fighting the That's hilarious. But yeah. So I'll say Symphony of the Night always been one of my go-to kind of relaxing games. Like it's not super hard. Like, and if you have trouble with it, there's probably a way to cheese the boss, or that you can just level up a little bit more before you fight the boss, and you're fine.
Yeah.
So I like Castlevania Symphony of the Night is a nice relaxing game, but yeah, tons of hours in that.
That's what's on your shirt.
It is.
Is that what's on your site?
Yeah,
Nice.
there it
of the
is.
Night. Yep.
Yeah.
Symphony of the Night.
Got a whole a Nightmare
Because
Before Christmas.
Metroid, it
vibe.
wasn't the familiars, it was the abilities. You had to find the ability to turn into the ball that could drop grenades, and all the different type of things.
Yeah, you have relics in Symphony of the Night where you can gain the ability to walk in water, double jump, or turn into a bat and that stuff. So kind of the same thing with that. But yep.
Yeah, I love those games.
Man, guys, we still have a lot of games to talk about, and we're at about an hour now.
Yeah, we have plenty of games for future the future.
You know
so
what?
maybe next time we'll target a genre. This way we can not have the whole world open to us.
Yeah, because we really could go on for hours. I mean, there's so many games and
they pop up in my head. Like I keep thinking, like, oh, this game and that game.
Yeah, this game. Oh, I played a lot of this game.
Yep. It's my topic next, right?
It is.
I believe
no,
so.
You were just Castlevania.
Okay. All right. That's
Well,
fair.
we could talk more Castlevania.
That's true.
Is that the last one we did was Castlevania?
Yeah. Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
I don't know that that's.
You're talking about right now.
Yeah.
He's talking about like next episode.
Yeah, next episode.
I thought you meant continue on it or whatever we're going to do.
Yeah.
We're the Nerd Pow Wow. We can do whatever we want to do.
That's true. That's true.
Well,
what I was thinking about is we wrap this episode up, and for our next episode, I wanted to do Trigun, but I want to give you guys plenty of time to watch that and get into it.
Yeah.
So I figured for my next topic, I was gonna do something easy and topical. So how about we continue on and talk about the modern games that we have picked out for longest hours sunk into, right? How's that
that's
work?
a good idea.
I'm game for that.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Cool.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we got a couple of good games for that, and then in a couple more weeks after that, then Trigun's gonna be the topic, so that'll be exciting. So
There you go.
Yep.
This will be like our first two-parter. We'll have the games of yesteryear that we loved and got addicted to, and now we have the modern games that we love and are addicted to. Stick around for part 2 to be continued.
Very nice.
And
Would you like to continue? Yes, for 700,000 hours.
but I can make it 9 continues, right?
9 continues. Yep. 9 extra lives, everything. Yep. Oh my gosh. Awesome.
This little dog has been such an attention hound tonight. She's not usually like this, but she keeps running and she's knocking shit off in the room and the pillows. She's jumping
Like, pay
I don't know
attention
what
to
she
me.
wants. I took her out right beforehand, so
Why won't you love me?
I don't know. I don't know what she wants.
Oh,
but
man.
anyway, I'll figure it out after the powwow.
Oh, look at that, Wayne. That's adorable.
It's a dumpling.
No, is that a slime? It looks like a slime.
A slime dumpling.
No slime in this house. No.
Wayne said nope.
No.
All right, nerds. Well, hey, thanks for everybody hanging out in the powwow, and we'll catch
Yep.
y'all later.
Good seeing you, everybody.
See you, nerds.
Have a
Bye.
good night. Later.
It's our voices.
Well, step aside and watch how my adoring fans flock to me.
Rabbit holes. We give our